So hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of HubSpot Hacks, and I'm very happy to have Amit Lavi with us. Amit will introduce himself in a few minutes, but we're going to be talking about HubSpot and obviously the whole world of exploring AI, how HubSpot's actually started working and implementing Chat GPT. Amit is very versed in this and has been kind of working with us since day one when it's been opened to Amit and to everyone else, and we'll be able to get his experience and what are the advantages, disadvantages using different tools. What we want to cover today, well, before we go in what we cover today, much more important, let's get Amit to introduce himself, and then we can kick this off.
I think the name that you had me is much better than mine.
Yeah, that's my mistake with keeping the last one, but
I was going to go with the flow. I didn't want to embarrass you. I was going to go with the flow.
we can add that as a middle name if you want.
I'm good. Let's go with that. So hi everyone. My name is Amit, and I'm an AI. I'm just an avatar now because I couldn't come. No, I'm kidding. I have been working and doing B2B marketing for the last 15 to 20 years, which means yes, I'm quite old. Been competing with Perry and the team for a while with my own agency, and then decided to live the easy life. And right now I'm consulting and working with companies on account-based marketing motions, how to integrate all technology together, and obviously in the last few months, how to actually get AI to be part of your day-to-day and how to get your team to work with AI. Obviously, a lot of it on HubSpot, and excited to be here. This is, this is one of those moments that make me believe that the peace in the Middle East is possible. So that's definitely nice. And, full of hope.
Great. So great having you with us. And this will be interesting to do a deep dive. Obviously, we've had a few conversations before this, and it's we'll try and keep this focused because obviously you and I can carry on talking for ages around this. But I think what we'll focus on today, as we said, is kind of an overall of HubSpot AI tools. And then we'll get into how to write prompts, general AI tips and tricks, and how to engage with chat. Obviously, we'll go into more detail and things that you've discovered, as you said, over this time on how to use these tools properly and how to get the maximum out of them, how to kind of also, what we were talking about before this week together, is how to actually, what is the right mindset, how to actually, well, it's not really reaching out, but how to use this AI as kind of, an extension of your team and how to get the most out of it. Just like I would say, if I bring on a new personnel and we have to train them, we have to understand who we're speaking to. So treat this AI tool as actually another person in your team, and to be able to kind of get the maximum out of it. So we'll go into those details. Anything you want to talk on a high level before we kind of deep dive into the HubSpot AI tools? How do you kind of looking at this whole change? Let's maybe talk about that for a few minutes, and then we can go into more of the details.
Yeah. Even before that, I just want, I stopped asking people if they use ChatGPT because most have used ChatGPT. It's that popular. But what I think is more interesting is what didn't work for you. So if anyone has something that didn't work for them, if they think that ChatGPT is rubbish and overhyped because they couldn't, write a great post on LinkedIn, please write it down, and we'll either prove you're wrong or not. But I'm always happy to try, and I think a lot of my experience was with going and working with ChatGPT and it completely failing to do anything I wanted it to properly. But learning how to get the most out of it is something that I think we need now, hopefully not in the future, But everything you do now around understanding how those AI model works will prep you for the future for sure. So you'll be much better positioned to accept any changes and to work with this technology as it progresses. And that's something that's important to know. ChatGPT, at least the way I see it, and I think a lot of other people do as well, is as important as the steam engine, and the steam engine for me is more important than the internal combustion engine because it was the first. And ChatGPT is as important as the computing revolution. So it's a jump. And if in the 90s you didn't know how to work with computers, in 5 years, if you don't know how to work with AI and get the most out of it, you're just going to have a very hard time to find the right positions and the right places to work in. And we can elaborate more about it as it relates to marketing. But I think that I'll say it in another way. Most people still talking about prompts, and we are going to talk about prompts. But the last thing you want is to go and look how other people wrote prompts and copy paste them. What you want to do is learn how to talk to AI. And in order to do that, you can't copy paste. You just need to experiment. And I'll show some examples later.
Okay, that's great. Maybe we can kick off if people can put in the chat here, just yes or no. How many have experimented already with one of the tools? If it's Chat GPT, has anyone? Maybe let's start with that question, and then we can go in who's already started. So just put it in a yes or no. I'll put in yes to start off with. I think that will be interesting to see. Okay, so everyone's in the right room. They didn't come in here by mistake, and we're looking for. So we have it at Penguin. We have our own. Yoni's, who's on the call as well, runs our AI kind of department and stuff like that. But I always joke with him because we have our own internal AI as well. So you got to make sure you're in the right place. We have Ali and Iris. So if you need anything, you go to both of them and they can get it done. So that's our basic AI tool. Another question that I put in, and then we can jump into the HubSpot AI tools, is if people can put in yes or no, if they've actually looked at the HubSpot AI tools or using the HubSpot AI tools. Will be interesting to say how many of those. Okay, there I can see is a bit different. So I think it'll be interesting for us.
Mark, it's funny, but like HubSpot was the first company, and that was amazing. Like what they did, they're just launching a very, very, not even half baked, but 10% baked chatbot that can start engaging with HubSpot, really put them first. And I think when you talk about HubSpot AI tools, I always think about it too. So there's chatbot and there's the Gen AI tools. And I'm not sure that people use chatbot. I think it's a bit too early. But let's remember there's two of those, right? And they haven't integrated still in the product, as far as I know.
So they are integrated, in alpha. But if anyone, let me just show everyone what that looks like in the portal. And if you need to know how to find it, okay? So this is what Amit's talking about, a chatbot. And the reason this got up, I think, personally, so quickly is because the CTO and founder of HubSpot, has been working with us and obviously following and probably knows the AI team and so on and so forth, being in that space. And he saw this as an opportunity to connect us as quickly as possible. And then he's been playing around with it since then. But as you said, this is alpha. So if anyone understands, alpha is before beta. In other words, this is something that they're playing around with, iterations, works, stops working. But if anyone wants to play around with it, so what you can do is if you go, and let me open this so you can actually see. 1 second, duplicate. So I'm inside our portal, and we'll just show us around. If anyone goes into settings, goes down to the bottom, once it's connected, you'll see chatbot here. Okay, and then it will show that I've actually connected chatbot alpha, connected it. But the other option is just to go, obviously, to chatspot.com, sign up, and then once you log in, it will actually ask you to either connect, or it will say that you connected, sign up to ChatSpot, and then it will say if you already belong to HubSpot, already see that you're a user, continue as this user, and then you're good to go. And then you come in here, and then you're already inside ChatSpot. Now, what's interesting about ChatSpot is, and this is what the iterations on a weekly basis and so on and so forth, but I would start, as you said, instead of creating prompts, but what I would use is actually start using and playing with the HubSpot prompts, because they've been tested and they actually, in most cases, are already working. Instead of like ChatGPT, where you go and you can actually write whatever you want, but what has been tested and what is actually working really well at the moment, obviously there are bugs in this, is the actual prompts that they've created here on the left-hand side. So you can do it based on how to, HubSpot CRM, content writing, research, reporting. So for example, research, if I want to do research, I can do company location information, company research general, article summary, so on. So for example, competitors. So if I want to see what Penguin Strategies competitors are, I can put in Penguin Strategies, send the prompt.
I think you need to put a domain, no? Oh, wow.
No, no, you don't. So it actually pulls in all of the, you see, SmartBug, Kuno, Square2, Salted, Impact. So it's obviously putting in the big ones in the US, yeah? It's giving me location, employees, founded, actions. Okay, I can add to HubSpot, obviously, I can research. Then if I click on research, now it's going to give me more information about SmartBug Media. Now, again, if you guys are doing a custom, you see, so it's already pulling in all this information. So one, I can look at my competitors. I can look at discover companies and industries. So for example, if I want to look at cyber, let's do cybersecurity, and in Israel, there are probably no companies that are in that industry in Israel, but let's take a look. So, okay, so now it's already pulling in Kato networks, obviously, you know, a good few of these, more results, and so on and so forth. So now this is already giving me a lot of information. I can start saying, okay, now I want to focus on cybersecurity, and I want to build a target customer base. And now I know, okay, these guys, Scatter Fence aren't in our database. So let's add to HubSpot, and view in HubSpot. Now you can see that it's connected, that I've already just added this company into HubSpot within a second. Okay.
What's important, I think, sorry.
No, carry on.
Just what's important to say here is that right now, when you work with ChatSpot, it's kind of nice to have. You know, it's like play around, but at the end you go to the UI. But this is how CRMs are going to be, and not in 10 years, in a year. Right now, HubSpot is basically limiting the functionality because it can't guarantee the quality of the results. But I've been using like other services that can access the data. And yes, they make more mistakes, but you can do so much more. And it's quite amazing what ChatGPT understands. But in the future, I mean, most of us are not going to go and see data. We're not going to go and see tables and columns. We're just going to see this. I mean, just going to ask questions and get answers. And I think it's not just about the prompts. A lot of people still don't understand what to ask. So I think that's the main challenge now. What do we want to know? And then the part of getting the data is going to be less important.
And it depends who I am in the team. But first of all, I agree with you 100%. I think that's the conversations that we're having. I think that's where HubSpot, Salesforce, all of the CRM companies are understanding that they're going to have to go in this way, and actually, because this is going to be a window pane where whether I'm a marketer, whether I'm an SDR, whether I'm a salesperson, whether I'm a manager, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to ask for what I want, and then I'm going to get what I need to work. So for example, if I was an SDR and targeting companies, we've already just shown a quick way of doing that. The other way of doing it is, as you said, so under prospecting. So I can discover a company size and location, age, refunding, technology used. So for example, if I'm looking for companies that are using, HubSpot, so I can say that there's an interesting one now that is called Twitter. Okay, so let's say I want to sell HubSpot to Twitter. Let's see what they're using. Okay, so now it's already showing me what Twitter actually has for advertising, CRM. So they got Microsoft Dynamics. Okay, so they actually have everything besides HubSpot. So it's about time they have to get HubSpot as well. They're using Twilio. So this is really powerful. And, again, I can push this data and so on. So I think it's, as you said, it's a mindset of me wanting to, understanding that that's where I'm going to be using. The other thing, which is interesting with chat, is that I can actually, wait a second, I could actually connect other things. Maybe Yoni knows. Yoni, I could connect other things. I switched it off.
That's Google Sheets.
Where's the Google Sheets? I'm not saying that.
Settings.
That's about me.
If you go into settings on the top, I think.
I am in settings.
So then maybe it's in the, where'd it go?
Interesting. I remember being able to use it. Okay. So we'll see what's been connected.
One interesting things, by the way, that I have to mention here that I just realized is that this is a very different use case that you ever used HubSpot for. So this is not about getting data about your own clients, or this is about research. And HubSpot were never about research. And they're using this tool to start competing with ZoomInfo, who's competing with them now on the marketing OS. And it's a very nice kind of like entry to a whole new market of data research. Now, I think what I love about the HubSpot that they're so quick to understand is that a world when everybody uses the same AI, the only differentiator is the data you have access to. Because that will mean that that's the only thing that's special. That's the only thing that you have and someone else doesn't. And so I think companies like ZoomInfo, companies that have specific data, are going to be even more in demand. And I love it how HubSpot are getting into this world very, very nicely.
For sure. I think that's very interesting. And so the other thing is the reporting. So now I could be, a sales manager, or I could be anyone else. I mean, we can go on forever here, but I think everyone got the idea. But here you can see I just put in marketing email performance. So it's actually putting in the email performances. And then again, I want to view in HubSpot, it's actually showing me this email that went out and going through that. So, and then you can also look at the history of things that I've done here. I can add, Shai's actually on the call, but I was playing with him. I can add Shai to the database. So I do send, and it will show that Shai is actually added. I can, add a task and play around with this. So it's very interesting how you can actually, number one. So as you said, I think SEO, you've got your prompts here. A lot of it's to do around research, because in essence, I'm trying to connect between my database and then obviously the outside world, which I'm trying to do anyway. I'm bringing in ZoomInfo, bringing in extra, for research, using LinkedIn Navigator and so on and so forth. Anything else around this? And I think that we can show some of the other things, but I think the most important thing is to play around with this, is to get it's actually a nice way to connect it and then, feel comfortable, and obviously follow up with a blog, which is also great because they're bringing in updates on a daily basis or every couple of days, and then it's easy to see what they've added. Yoni, do you have anything to add around this? Because you've been playing around with this more than any of us.
I've been focusing a lot more on content assistance. So I'm waiting for there.
Okay, so then I think we can jump onto that. So that's number one, is Chat Spot, which I agree with Amit 100%. Worth playing around with, good to look at, because that's kind of the future on how you're going to be interacting with the CRM, which I think all of us are in agreement with. The other thing that HubSpot added is that when I'm already inside HubSpot and I go into an email, for example, so if I want to create a new email, any email, and if I just start any basic email, 1 second, I can create an email, just a regular email that all of you guys know how to create. Let's just do, hang on, I went into, let me close all that. Penguin strategies. Okay, so as I said, here's my new email. Then what I can do is I can say, okay, well, this email, this template is not interesting. Let's start from scratch. And then what I can do is I can just click generate heading. And here I'll say something around, I don't know, I mean, AI as well. We can talk about AI and war in Russia. Let's see what it comes up with. I don't know. Really playing around with crazy stuff here. There we go. Okay, insert. So now I've got my first paragraph. And then I can go to the next stage and carry on from there. And now generate the paragraph. And then I can start doing, you said, write an engaging paragraph and so on and so forth. So this already allows you to start promoting from here. You only have used this in any other way on the email side?
So also like this, the prompts in here, you can go more advanced prompts. And I know Amit knows a lot more about those too. Just like, it doesn't have to be just the basic, right? You can talk about who's your audience and the engagement paragraph. It's just like in ChatGPT. So that's nice and valuable.
But this is basically ChatGPT. The ChatGPT without the iterative process. And that's the main point, that I would use this mainly to check different styles, rephrase a bit. I wouldn't use it to write content from scratch, because what happens is when you write a prompt and it's not working well, you need to rewrite the prompt. And again, it doesn't remember the last conversation, which I think is the biggest thing about ChatGPT, that it's an iterative process of creation and creativity. So I think the same rules, like you need to give AI, and we'll talk about it more a bit later, but basically every time you ask ChatGPT to do something, you're giving a brief. And as marketing people, we should be good at doing briefs. So you're giving a brief, and the brief has to be really, really good brief. It has to include exactly what you want in terms of length and style. It has to include who you're targeting this to. It has to include what is the perspective you're writing on. It has to include all these things, and then the answers are phenomenal. Not always correct, but phenomenal still. And so I think this is great if you have content already, or if you have an outline of a content, but I wouldn't start the journey here.
Yeah,
but
100%.
What HubSpot, what it does coincides amazingly with the relatively new HubSpot features for collaboration. And so if someone wrote the content, you can go ahead, you can play around with the text, you can test things, and then leave a message and a comment. How about this? How about that? So it goes really nicely together. But again, mostly for rephrasing right now. So if you take the text that you just wrote and just highlight it.
Hang on, let me close this content.
Yeah, let's close this,
Top right.
I think escape. Yeah. So if you just mark it, and then you see the small thing at the end. Yeah. So this will give you immediately the contextual changes, and you can change the tone, you can summarize, you can do a lot of cool stuff from here. I think this is more useful because it's shortcuts, and then you can change them still and play around with it or regenerate. But again, I wouldn't start the process here, and I can show later what I would recommend to start.
So you would refine the process in here while you're already writing and you've already built, you've already done it, and then you can go in and then say, okay, how do I refine this? Or looking at it again, I'm not 100% sure, and then I can and then start from here. Okay.
Yeah,
So
even the social media post, like if you start a post, it doesn't let you change, it doesn't let you play around with it much. So you can still write a post, but you don't have where to actually define what's the style you want and like how do you like posts to be written. And I think what's going to happen soon is that HubSpot is going to start looking at the posts you posted through HubSpot, look at the best ones, and then optimize your content based on these posts. And then it's going to be amazing because that basically is really, really customized to you and what's working for you. Right now, you have to do it manually, and I can show you how to do it.
Okay. So I just want everyone to, so I think we will be able to jump over to you in a few minutes. I just want everyone to be aware that, again, anywhere that you can create content, whether it's a landing page or, and also there's another tool now, social posts or that, everything is using the same thing. And obviously I can go in, why is this moving that I can't see
Does
it
this
now?
need to be enabled, Mark, or is it open for everyone by default?
So better is open, and I'll show everyone another trick now. Okay, got it. So here you go through the settings and take a look at that. So just another trick that just so everyone knows, if everyone goes down to product updates on their portal and goes to betas, you can join any beta that exists. Okay, you don't have to ask. There are rare cases now you have to ask HubSpot for it, but if it really went into beta, then you can actually just go here. Again, you go here, you go to product updates and you go to betas, and then you'll be able to add. And so that's the one place we saw it. The other place we saw it, which we're already using is interesting, is here as well. If I'm using the conversation, okay, just with the conversations with me back and forth with the chat, I can also, if I, as you said, if I hover over anything that I've started writing, click here, then again, we have the same thing. So for example, if I want to be friendlier, okay, so we're excited to form. No, not happy with that. Let's rewrite that, expand, and good to go. Okay, so anywhere that you're conversing with text in HubSpot now, obviously we said landing pages is the same thing. Once you have it switched on, you also see that once you go in, there's a good chance that the whole thing will pop up now. But in certain areas of the text as well, I'm probably breaking something here. Someone's going to shoot me. But if I go in here, generate heading, paragraph, subsection. So that's the whole thing kind of going back and forth with everything.
It's also nice because as they're building it up, you saw how the landing page had different options than the email, and the blog also has generate topics and generate outlines. So they're trying to build in functionality specific to each, but it's as they roll it out.
Yeah.
It's going to be textual with the future, and that's how it should be, right? But again, when we look at the future, it's going to be chatbot. I don't think it's going to be that.
Yeah. So here you'll see if you sign up for the beta, it will pop up, write content, and then we'll show you how to use this. As we said, in the same thing. Ira, don't worry, I'm not going to save anything. And then same thing here. I go in, you see, as Yoni said, now you've got outlines, ideas, conclusion. So it's actually giving the different context. And then the other thing, because I also want to go and see Mitch show us a few interesting tricks. The other thing that we bumped into HubSpot was the campaign assistant. Yoni, maybe you want to explain a few seconds what this does. You've been playing with this more than me.
And it's still quite new. I wouldn't recommend doing anything live with it just yet. But basically, you can come into here and create a campaign, and it'll help you put together the text for right now email, landing page, and search ads. And you can, just go in, and on the left it has your prompting. Right. One of the things that I like about HubSpot, they've been trying to give more guidance in how to prompt, which is really nice. In ChatSpot, they had it more before, and they made it simpler now. But it's really helpful, and you can talk, and then you can copy and paste this into a landing page, or even create a new asset from this content that's built here if you have the templates already set up properly.
So it's only for the text. It's not going to bring me images and stuff, correct?
Not here, but you can generate images if you want in ChatSpot.
Yeah.
So I think in general, it's like the one-click campaign creation. I think, regardless of this, if you haven't been using campaigns in HubSpot, it's definitely time to start. The tool has been upgraded really, really nicely. You can have properties now, you can play around with it, and there's no reason to continue measuring with, Salesforce campaigns, especially when you want to own your reporting. And I think it's great that in the near future, you could just click and have a whole campaign outline ready for you, including the assets, including everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is really powerful in that sense, is that, again, with the landing page, we'll do the same thing. We'll start creating the content for it. And so now you have the copy, and then I can go and copy that and, put that over and then put that into my landing page. So that's already creating that. Yoni, is anything? So again, we can put in a new campaign and put that under the specific AI marketing or the variants and look at those. So the other thing that I think I've seen in beta, but I haven't seen how to do it. It's supposed to also, there should be an option, I think, with the chats, but I'll say that afterwards, is the ability to also, for some reason it wasn't working for me when I was trying this out, to actually summarize, to start being able to summarize the different things. If there's a few people back and forth, so you should be able to summarize this chat as well. But I'll look into that, and I think maybe that's not open yet for everyone. From here, yeah.
No, just summarize. If you're not spending $20 on GPT-4 and you want to use GPT-4, so HubSpot is a good place to do that, because it's you don't have to pay more. And as far as I know, it is GPT-4 right now, right? They updated it. I don't think it's 3.5 anymore. Okay.
Yeah, that's before.
Yeah, and also probably shameless plug time. I have a client, a sidekick, who does it in Slack. So you can download for free and summarize your whole Slack conversation with GPT-4, which is so helpful because I hate reading day-old Slack conversations with 20 people in the company. The summary is helping to understand if you need to read it, basically. So if there's a hint of something important, then you read it. If you're mentioned, then you read it. But if not, then you're not. And basically reminds me that the best thing I ever did to reach inbox zero one day is just like to ignore 400 unread emails. And apparently no one ever needed me. So I was happy. But seriously though, you need to start using ChatGPT 4 better than 3.5, much better than 3.5, by the way. I need to start using it yesterday because otherwise you're just going to be behind. Is that my time to play around and show and play time?
Yeah. So let's jump to chat GPT and show us kind of, as you said, start with the prompts, and we can go in and show us how you're looking at it. And also, as you said, we had a conversation on one, how to use it, two, how to actually, what is the right mindset. I think, as we said, we were talking about. Yoni's also posting similar things I saw yesterday and the day before around the same kind of thing, on how to actually treat your chat GPT so that you get the maximum out of it. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but right, some phrase. But
so I want to go, and I want to ask a question as well, if that's okay. So who's been using ChatGPT 4? Who's been paying for ChatGPT? Say yes if you have, no if your company is being cheap. Oh, good. Yeah, Yoni, that doesn't count. No, it doesn't count as well. Come on, people. I want to know if I need to explain about GPT-4, I can skip to the more interesting things. Okay, so
when is 5 coming out?
When is 5 coming out? 5, I don't think it will come out if the government has anything to do with it. Okay, so do you know what? Just say yes if you want me to go over ChatGPT 4 and the current features. Because I'm not going to. I'm just going to jump into conversations if not. Okay, that's good with me. Anyway, so what I want to do is I want to jump into conversations as I promised, because everybody knows ChatGPT 4. So I don't need to show you this. We all know that. You know about plugins. You know about everything. So what I do when I talk about ChatGPT and other LLMs, though, even compared to Bard, ChatGPT is so much better. Bard is actually not searching Google as well as GPT-4 searches Bing. I know it's a bit weird, like it kind of blows your mind. Like everything we learned is just the other way. But what is the most important thing is that everybody talks about prompt engineering, like as the new job of the future. That's not going to be a job of the future because the best tool to write prompts is another AI, and that's what they do. So if you want to write a prompt, ask AI to write a prompt for you. What I find amazing that if you ask an AI to write a prompt, they are much nicer to themselves than I would. So for example, write a prompt that will always generate amazing LinkedIn ads, LinkedIn posts. That is a very bad prompt, okay? But ChatGPT is polite. It's never going to tell me that, right? So it's basically writes what they want. So describe a time when you face a significant challenge at work and you overcome it. Share the key learnings from the experience and how to share it to professional. So it's actually writing a post for me because ChatGPT didn't understand me at all. Okay. Now I can write, please write, and yes, I'm very polite to ChatGPT. I don't think AI will take over the world, but it might, and I want to be on their good side. Doesn't hurt.
Because everything's recorded, so you got to be careful.
No, it's good. AI will know that I meant it. Please write a LinkedIn post for a B2B company selling AI-proof shelters to enterprise companies. The audience is chief security people, and the idea is to explain why every company above 10 employees need AI-proof shelter. Now, this is still completely no context to the AI. Okay? Now, there's something that people don't get, that AI is not a computer. It's different than a computer. A computer, if you ask them a question in the same way, will give you an answer the same every time. AI is more like a person in that sense. And I don't even care about if Gen AI is real or not, if there is real AI or not. It doesn't matter. But the idea is that because it doesn't give you an answer every time, it actually goes, searches, and trying to understand what you wanted and provides an answer. And if you ask me the same question a month after, like even a day after that, you're not going to get the same words exactly. Okay. So what we want to do is to focus on the gist of things. Like when you talk to a person, you don't care if someone, your employee, understands word by word what you want them to do. You need them to understand what you mean. The problem is that we're not that good at communicating in general, especially with people who are new to us, and especially people who don't exactly do what we do. So what I do is, first of all, if I had a person who does social media, I would like them to write in a certain tone, in a certain style. I would like them to write to check what worked before. Okay. So how do I do it? I basically take a blog post of mine that worked. I copy paste it here, or I just, you can use plugins to go live if it's public or a web page. And then I say, okay, please read this LinkedIn post and analyze the tone and style. And then I'm telling them, I can tell ChatGPT to write exactly this style, but then I need to do it every time, again and again and again. So what I do is I tell them, please write in your wording style so I can use them in the future prompts to create similar content. Copy paste, and then it says, okay, here are the characteristics of tone and style. Now, what I do is basically I go to my, in HubSpot, you have the snippets. I use the sidekick, I use the another tool to do that. But basically what you need to do is just take this characteristics, maybe ask them to add more characteristics. And then I asked ChatGPT to write a post, to write a prompt. And ChatGPT said, hey, ChatGPT, you see, it's very friendly to itself. But look at what it did. It basically took my characteristics and created a prompt about something everybody's blabbing about these days, remote working. So it just invented a topic because I didn't give it a topic. So how can you create a prompt? So it invented a topic. It's like a person. It fills in the blanks. And so you have to be very specific with it. And then I said, no, the prompt doesn't have to be in my style, but it should help you to create content with my style. And it got it. It got it what I want. And now it wrote a prompt that says, ChatGPT, write a piece on how small businesses can leverage social media marketing to grow. I had less intelligent conversations with people in the past. Okay, it gets what you want. Now, this is basically what I do when I write LinkedIn posts. I'm critical. I do give practical advices. I am very conversational. I do add light sarcasm. I thought I was sarcastic, but apparently I'm light sarcastic. That's fine. And but I used ChatGPT's language to teach him what to do, to teach it what to do, or her. I don't care. But I use that language. And so now I have a prompt that I could just put brackets here to the topic and to the audience, and I have something that quite properly, and it works. Okay, but I didn't go online and use the prompt. I used ChatGPT to analyze my writing and to write a prompt that will enable me to write more content in the future that works very well. Shockingly enough, let's try it. I would probably say Crusaders as well, yes. This is like closer to my tone and style than anything it would have written before.
So if it were like a year ago, okay, and you needed to outsource this to someone, you would go through a similar process. It actually might not be that correct, but you would send them a post so they could get the style and the feel of what you're writing. And now say, okay, all the posts that you send out in my name, okay, because you're going to be outsourcing people creating content for you, for example, or the same as a customer, then they would say, okay, they would have to read through that. They would have to look at it, and they would say, okay, now I'm getting it, and then try and write, and you'd have one or two iterations or maybe more until they get the style and feel and so on of how you write.
So I used to communicate like this, and earlier I wasn't a good communicator. Still not the best, but I improved. But because the only thing I changed is that I asked people to reply in their words what they understood from the task. And immediately before they start working on it, and then I understood correctly. So that's what I'm doing here, right? Like sometimes when you give a complex task to someone or a task to someone who doesn't know you, you need them to repeat the task to see that they understood. And how often does it happen that they don't get it? That's what I'm doing with ChatGPT. I'm using good communication protocols. And if you went online and found prompts and used them, you're not going to learn anything from it. And ChatGPT is not going to learn your style. Right now, ChatGPT doesn't save your style from a conversation to conversation. So you need to go and have a prompt ready that describes your style using these characteristics. But soon enough, and it was already leaked, they're going to start saving that on you between conversations. Okay? And this iterative process is so important to get what you need that there's no way you can get it if you can't do the chat part. So my advice, talk to chat. If you want something about work, consider ChatGPT a new intern that can do everything in the world, but doesn't know what you want. All you need to explain to them is what you want exactly. That is not easy. That is never easy. But once you do, it will work, and it works amazingly. So
it's not only describing what you want, but also checking that ChatGPT actually understands what you want, just like you would, as you said, with any real intern that came into the workspace, and you would just explain to me exactly, is it clear to you what I was talking about. As we said, most cases it's probably not.
Yeah, and let's just say I'm starting a new chat, okay? And I'll ask him, please write a LinkedIn post for me about AI shelters for enterprise companies. Let's see if it gets it wrong. You know what's the most interesting conversation I had with an AI? I asked him to create something new, and it did. It was amazing. Like I asked him, can you create something new? He said, yes, partially. And then he gave me ideas for products that are amazing. Okay. Now, if I want to understand why did you write this, okay, I can just ask, why did you write the words with it knows to go back, not all the time, like it has a buffer. When it's full, it's done. But it knows to go back and it will explain to you why it wrote it. And the explanation is meta. It's like, why was this place here? Why did I write about this topic? What is the context? So if it writes something that you don't get, don't be disappointed and go away. Ask them why, so you can learn how to improve what you wrote. You see, this information is necessary to build a strong case for AI shelters.
And then if you
Explains
disagree
why
with
we did
that,
things.
and then if you disagree with that, or that's not what you meant, then you know how to reiterate and say, okay, let me ask the question more clear.
You clarify.
Or like
in
what
its
you showed
words.
me yesterday about if I just throw in a company or a name of something, it's not enough. I need to say, go and search this domain or search this thing, and then go and kind of, as Perry always says to me, Mark, what is the context? Because usually I start a conversation jumping into what I know we're talking about without actually saying, hang on, what are we talking about? So
exactly, we all do. So, for example, one of the things I uploaded a post that was basically a rant about LinkedIn putting ChatGPT and in ads, and a rant about like, oh great, now all ads are going to be the same, boring, using like horrible words. So, for example, let me show you. I'll open a new chat. Again, I always go to ChatGPT until it doesn't let me anymore, and then create ads for Penguin. And then I gave him a very broad definition. I didn't tell him who we're talking to, what are we trying to sell, nothing. And then it always used these annoying words and like transform and amplify. And those words, like, I can't hear them anymore. So what I did is I made a prompt with all the words I can't hear anymore. And I put them in the prompt. And this is something I say, copy paste. And I just changed the topic. Now, because it's LinkedIn ads, I also know that unless I tell them to use best practices, including, and sometimes I actually write it out, like character count, call to action, stuff like that. And now look at the difference between this and this. Okay, like it's more refined. It still uses some buzzwords, but that's up to you to remove them or not. But there's no horrible words that everybody use, like framework, platform, and stuff like that. So if you want to, don't use LinkedIn ads, right? That's what you're getting. You need this iterative process to tell it what not to do, to give an example of ads that work. So what I would do here is I would actually copy paste ads that work the best for me. I would say, okay, these are the ads that work the best for me. What is their characteristics? How do you analyze them for me? And then I'll tell them to write ads with these learnings. Because if I keep that stage of AI clarifying what it understands, I'm making more mistakes. And it wouldn't get my meaning. So only once I realize that it understands what I mean, only then I have to create content. And so if you want to create like a long ebook, right now there's a limitation. It can't create 3,000 words. Like it can, but it's horrible. What I do is I do the research with it, but when I come to write, I ask it to write an outline. And I make the outline perfect using this iteration process. Why did you write about this? Drop this, add something about this. And then I go and I say, okay, like if I want to write a pillar page, I'll take the topic, send them to the best pillar page I can find, which is usually the first place on Google, analyze this and write something different, but with the same scope. Only outline. And when I'm happy with the outline, then I start taking bullet by bullet and put it there and start expanding on it and writing content per bullet. I know we're running out of time, but we wanted to be a bit about HubSpot. Does everybody, not sure how many times do you do reports or use data, but one of the most annoying things to do in HubSpot is to take an Excel, take names, then go make a list, filter the names, you paste it from Excel, and it all goes into one format. So everybody will come to me, yes, we have a tool, Notepad++, whatever, I just replace the characters, whatever. I don't do that anymore. I go to HubSpot and I go to ChatGPT and tell them, just take this list and put it in a semicolon. And I get a semicolon list and I put it here and it works. And so that saved me half an hour every time. It saves me so much time. Just this is the thing, and people don't often think about it. ChatGPT is actually quite good at reformatting. So if you want to format for capital, if you want to do a sentence case, whatever, very easy to do. However, when I asked it to sort it out by name, it did it well. But when I meant last name, it got completely confused. Did G after A, it didn't get what I want to do. And then I asked him why, what was the criteria? It explained, still didn't get it. So I had to go and tell it, no, assume first name is first, the second is the last, and sort it by last, because it thought that Gabriel Holmes is one name, two names, two first names or two last names. So Excel is faster, sorting by ABC. But if you want to reformat stuff, wow, the speed is like unparalleled. Every time you need to do a list, every time you need to put a lot of values, just do it here.
So any data cleansing, reformatting, any of that?
Yeah, go to ChatSpot, say like, give me a list of companies and their domains. And then you just clean the domains, put them in a semicolon so it would fit a list that you want to do. With 2 minutes, you have a list. You don't have to put it in Excel,
audience, I'm building anything, and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So that's something that I found the most useful after all the content generation. And I want to show some other stuff. So, for example, this is, I went for a customer of mine, went to G2, took the page with the comments for their competitor and asked her to summarize the competition and try to do gap analysis. Wasn't that good, but it gave me these two things that I know how to work on. But what I also thought was go to the customer website and then compare the features by feature. All the features it gave me, my customer already does, all of them. So you can say, okay, ChatGPT didn't get what I want, didn't give me a good answer. But what I got from this is that this is how search engines, this is how maybe even people see my website. Those features are not highlighted enough on the website. So if ChatGPT sees it like this, I'm sure that other people will see it like this. And so that's also something that I like doing and kind of like checking myself. If you work a lot with developers, I often write a paragraph that I want to write to a developer or someone who's not marketing. And then I come to ChatGPT and say, I'm trying to write this email. This is meant for developers. They don't get me. Can you put some phrases so developers will understand? Already amazing. And I'm actually improving my communication skills because of that. So if you need to send an email to someone outside of your own team or your own department, sometimes it's good, especially if you have communication issues. The most amazing article I've ever done with ChatGPT is I was bored one day and I'm playing Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. If you don't, you must, or you're not a gamer. And I have a company who's actually does products for developers, and I asked ChatGPT to create a blog, and what I have is an allegory comparing the experience of playing ChatGPT, playing Zelda, and how it compares to what the company does. That is completely original, like it actually was true and makes sense. But I came up with the idea. So ChatGPT is not going to take our ideas. It's not going to take our job. It's just going to make it more efficient. Another thing that people, sorry?
No, that's great. It's really interesting.
Yeah, another thing I do is like, we all remember that at the beginning, they talked about extend it like to 6 years old. And then I don't know what about you, but I went and checked, explain to me the theory of relativity. I got it, not a 6 years old, fine. I took 10-year-old, but I got it. But actually, a lot of times we have a hard time to explain things. And ChatGPT, for some reason, is very good at explaining. And it's the same reason that allows it to explain itself. And so I said, okay, how do you explain content to your parents? Okay, and so when you use the computer to visit the website, you see pages with text, images, and buttons, and sometimes forms. That's what I do. Imagine a website as a house. The backend developers build a foundation. And then I said, okay, I have a grandma who doesn't have a computer. How do I explain what I do to her? Dear grandma, do you remember people used to write letters and send them through me? Well, nowadays, many things are going through computer and internet. And just the fact that it can do that, the creative possibilities of switching the audience a bit and playing around with it are endless. And so one of my what I use best and one of my best tips that I can give, when you do research, let's say I want to do an article about account-based marketing, and I do, okay, what are the biggest failures in account-based marketing? Or what are the biggest must-have for success? And you know what I get? I get the most boring article. But then I asked it, give me the least common reasons for success, or the least popular, or the least reoccurring. And sometimes you get amazing things that you never thought about before and that you never actually thought about writing them, and you come up with original material. The last thing I want to show, because I know you're running out of time, right? What was it? Not this one. Sorry, I'm jumping here. Sorry if I'm confusing anyone. I'll just show it live. Anybody has a blog that they recently wrote or something that they want to share and show off to everyone? No? Okay. So this. Let's just take a blog about, let's do this. So there's a lot of conversation about content and formats and doing videos, and I'm, being the geek I am, is more excited about the following. Okay, so we all know this, right? You can summarize.
Yeah.
Okay. But now, let's let it summarize. Okay, you all know summarize, I'll stop. But now, let's do something else. Let's use the plugins that I'm using now. Oops, never mind. I think it gets me. Oh, come on. I want to show it and it doesn't work. So when the thing is that when you use, as far as I know, when you use the plugins, it doesn't use Bing to search the web. So you use plugin that searches the web, that goes to articles. The first day I tried it, I actually summarized a whole conversation I had with a client about stages and the sales pages, the sales process. And I had it in like one big paragraph. And I put the paragraph here, and then that came out. Show Me is the bestest ever plugin in the world. I love it. If you love diagrams, that's what you need to do. Don't fail me now. Come on.
So the show me diagram plugin is what's going to supposedly.
I should have saved it. It's still trying. I love it. It's still trying. So basically, it did a diagram with words. Which is a PT, but you can actually do full diagrams here. Here, I think. Here. So I gave it a text and like I just blurb the text, or I can use it up, and it created a diagram like this. And then I told him, you know what, move this branch to here, move this branch to there. And he iterated the whole process, and it was amazing. And then what I also did, and this is fun, especially if you're creating content for tech audience. It has enough sensibility to, it's almost humorous, but like state diagram V2 or, oh no, it didn't get me. So a typical marketing department functions into titles as code.
Okay, I think this will be the last one because I think people are going to jump off.
Yeah.
But
so this is like, it could be so funny to show this as a post or as a blog.
So to summarize, I think on a high level, one is to dive in, understand how to actually engage here.
Yeah.
Obviously, try it out and play around with it as much as possible. Also with the HubSpot tools, and iterate as much as possible and ask questions.
Yeah.
And actually, what I found fascinating is what you're talking about is to say, okay, this is what I like, and I want you to understand why I like this. So go in actually, so I can, save that, and then not start from scratch each time, but actually save the prompt or save the characteristics that ChatGPT itself is actually defined as, now I understand this is what you want. That I think is really powerful. So I don't have to start from
communication, right? Like if you need to make sure that the message is understood in your own language, in the language of the person you're trying to convey the message to.
Got it. Fascinating. Okay, I know we're over time, so I'm going to let everyone go. There'll be a recording of this, obviously, like every 2 weeks on our website, probably in the next couple of hours. Amit, thank you very much. This has been fascinating.
Thank you. If anyone has any questions, I'm on LinkedIn. Ping me. Happy to chat.
Great. Thank you very much. And we'll see when do a follow-up one with you in the next couple of months and see how things are progressing.
I'd love to. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Yoni, for your time as well. And thanks, everyone. We'll speak to you in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye.